Let's talk about speaking about personal experiences. Now, this lesson is about using personal experiences in part three of the IELTS speaking test. Students often make a mistake in part three of the IELTS test as they talk only about their personal experiences, and this is usually the sign of a weaker candidate. Now, parts one and two of the speaking test are very much about you. In part one, they ask questions about anything from your studies to your favorite types of clothes. In part two, you have to talk for 2 minutes about such things as a place you've been to or someone you know. However, part three is not so much about you, it's about topics more generally and how they affect everyone rather than just you personally. Now, here are some example questions from part three of the speaking test on a variety of topics. So, for the food, you have described the type of food that people eat in your country. How are the eating habits now in your country different with those in the past? How healthy is your country's food? Education, what do you think about the way languages are taught in schools in your country? How do you think a poor university education can affect career success? What changes do you think will happen in the classroom in the near future? For leisure, why are some activities more popular than others? How do the types of leisure activities popular now different from those popular when your parents were young? And what types of leisure activities may become more popular in the future? Now, if you look carefully at the questions, you will see that they're not about you. They're about people generally in your country or around the world. A common mistake for some students is that they make the topic only or mostly about themselves or people they know rather than talking more generally. So, here are some examples of good and bad answers to the two of the above questions. So, what's wrong with the bad answers? So, describe the type of food that people eat in your country. I might try some other dishes occasionally, such as Korean food, as I like that, but I always tend to eat Japanese food. At home, my mom will always make Japanese food too. My brother will eat much more Western food than I do, but he would go out to buy this rather than getting at home. So this one is a bad answer because it only talks about personal experience. Now let's look at a good answer. There are a lot of different types of food in Japan if you're big in cities like Tokyo, such fast food outlets, Italian restaurants, Korean food, and of course a lot of Japanese restaurants. But most people tend to eat Japanese food, even in these big cities when there are other choices, but especially in smaller towns and villages. So this one is good because it talks about general aspects of food in country. Now, let's go to an example two. What do you think about the way languages are taught in schools in your country? Bad answer. In my school, we learned English and it was taught really badly. I think it's firstly because the teachers themselves were not native English people and their English was not perfect. So they taught us to say some things incorrectly and also they could not always say things clearly, so we could not learn good pronunciation of them. So here it started already with the personal experience, so which is not good. So let's look at the good answer. In most schools in my country, English is the main language taught. I think it's actually taught quite badly because many of the teachers are not native English teachers. A good example is my school. The teachers themselves were nearly all Korean, not native English people, and their English was not perfect. So they taught us to say some things incorrectly, and also they could not always say things clearly, so we cannot learn good pronunciation of them. So the ones in red, it's okay to talk about personal experience, but always start with a general example first. So it's okay to talk about your own experiences, but this should just support general ideas about society. The whole answer should not just be about your experience. Now, here are more examples, some good answers that are supported with personal experience, which are in red. How do you think a poor university education can affect career success? I don't think that it does have to affect it because many people manage to become successful without a higher education. It's more down to your confidence and motivation than anything else. For example, I've got two brothers. The older one went to university, but the most successful of the two is actually my younger brother, who started working straight after school. He's now the head of one of the biggest companies in Italy, and this was down to his drive and his enthusiasm in his work and his ability to get on with people well. Next, how healthy is your country's food? It's not really that healthy, I would say. A lot of Thai food is cooked in fat and oil, especially the street food, which is often cooked in fat that is reused many times. MSG is also added a lot. Also, there are now a lot of fast food restaurants that people eat at because it's convenient. My younger cousin already has diabetes and is only 23, and I'm sure that is due to diet. And my father has a bad heart, which is from too much cholesterol, which I think has also been caused by the food. So, to sum up in part three of the speaking, make sure that you're talking generally rather than about personal experience. However, you can use personal experience, but this should just be used to illustrate your general points.